Recorded.
No. So in the previous session, we have discussed about various use cases by using Apex programming, and we have discussed how to write some small pieces of code by using Apex programming, and how to execute, how to view the results by using debug log file, and how to do the calculations by using the various expressions, and how to use the built-in formulas to do some calculations we have discussed in the previous session. Now, have you done with this all these features? Anybody still
Yes, sir.
pending?
Yes,
Feeling comfortable with the programming?
yes,
Any
sir.
difficulty?
No, sir.
No, right? Okay. Now, so let's take few more practical use cases today. How can we implement these features? Now, so let's take a small use case. Now, so now my requirement is we have a student. Okay. For example, we have a student. Student has given 5 exams. Okay, has given 5 exams like English, Hindi, maths, physics, and chemistry. He has given 5 exams. In each exam, he got few marks. Okay, in each exam, he got few marks. Now, I would like to calculate the total marks of the student. I would like to calculate average marks of the student. Okay, I want to calculate total and average marks of the student. Now, so now tell me how many variables we need to define to do this. What type of variables to define? Integer type variables. How many
Integer.
variables?
Two.
Two variables. Why? Hmm. Seven variables. Why seven variables?
I
Hmm. In order to calculate the total marks, we need all the 5 subject marks. To store these 5 subject marks, we need to define 5 variables of type integer. Okay, because marks means purely numerical. So we need to define 5 variables to store 5 subject marks. Okay, next. To store the total marks, we need one more variable. To store the average marks, one more variable. Total 7 variables we need to define of type integer. Okay, next. Once the 7 variables has been defined, then in how many variables we need to assign the values? 5 variables, because we need to assign the marks of each and every subject. So for English, how many marks he got? And then Hindi, maths, physics, chemistry. In all these 5 subjects, how many marks the student got? We need to assign these marks here. So for these 5 subject variables, we need to assign the values. Then we can calculate the total marks. That means addition of all these 5 subjects. We need to calculate the total marks. That means total marks by number of subjects, so that we can calculate average marks. Okay. Now make a note of this one. Write an Apex program to calculate the total and average marks of the student. We have five subjects for the student: English, Hindi, maths, physics, and chemistry. We have these five subjects for the student. We need to collect these five subject marks. Based on these marks, we need to calculate total and average. Now, let's see how can we write this piece of code. I'm going to my Salesforce arc. Go to the execute anonymous window. Now let me define the variables first. I want to define total 7 variables of type integer. Integer, English, Hindi, maths, physics, chemistry, total marks, average marks. Now I would like to assign the values for each and every subject. I'm assigning English marks as some 84, Hindi 86, maths some 94, physics some 91, chemistry some 95. So these are the subjects here. For each subject, he got some marks, so we have assigned some values. Now, once the marks has been assigned for each and every subject, now I would like to calculate total marks. So total marks equals to English plus Hindi, maths, physics, and the chemistry. We are collecting this total marks. By collecting each and every subject marks, we can do the addition, we can represent this value. I would like to show system.debug total marks are, I would like to show total marks. I want to calculate average marks. How to calculate? Total marks by number of subjects. How many subjects are available? 5. Right.
Five
We
subjects,
can
five,
specify total marks by 5.
five.
Now we can able to show that average marks. System.debug average marks are, I would like to show that average marks. So I'm representing this value. So now total marks also I'm representing over here. Average marks also I'm representing. So now here we are collecting 5 subject marks of the student. Based on this subject marks, we are calculating the total, and based on the total, we can calculate the average marks also. And then we can represent both the total marks and the average marks on our debug log file. Hmm. Now we have to define a decimal variable. We need to convert that integer value into decimal by using typecasting. Those are typecasting features are next.
Sir, in the total marks you give English, Hindi like that. Hmm. We give the 84, 86 also that will have.
No, that we can't give because here why we are defining these variables, because every time we can't write this value okay in all the places. Just we can define the variable, initialize the value. Whenever you want this value 84, directly use the variable name over here. Okay. Now, because here we have the value 84, straightforward. For example, assume that here I'm having some value like this. Now, whenever if you need this value, every time will you write this value over here like this? It will be difficult to write. For that reason here, instead of writing this value every time, just we can able to define a variable. In this variable, store the value. Whenever you want this value, use that variable name. That is the purpose of variable. To hold the value, we can reuse in different places. But don't hard code these values. Don't write 84 plus 86 plus. Don't write like this. Use that variable names. Okay. Done with the code. Now click on execute button. Select the debug only checkbox. Now we can see the result. So now it is representing the total marks are 450 and the average marks are 90. Okay. So this is 90% over here. If you want to show like as 90%, then here we can able to add average marks plus we can add percentage symbol also here. Just the concatenation. This is a string, this is an integer. Both will be concatenated. That means it's like as a string. Then again string plus string concatenation. Now click on execute. Now it is representing average marks are 90%. Like that we can represent that value whatever you want. Clear up to this one? How to write the piece of code, how to define variables, how to assign the values, how can we do the calculations, how to represent the results, all these things we have discussed. Okay. Feeling comfortable with the programming, feeling difficulty or feeling easy? Hmm. As of now,
Feeling
easy. Okay.
as of
Now,
now easy,
when
sir.
moving forward, let's see. Hmm. Now, now, if you know the fundamental concepts perfectly, then further programming will be very easy. Okay, nothing difficult. Clear up to this one? Next. Now, so let's move forward to one more feature, that is conditional statements. Then we have to understand what exactly conditional statement, what it represents, why should we go for conditional statements in Apex programming, and what are the various conditional statements that we have in Apex programming, and how to use each conditional statement. Okay, now let's see. So now let me take a small use case which we have discussed in the previous session. For example, so yesterday we have prepared a small use case in order to define two variables of type numerical and to perform all the mathematical calculations on numerical values. Okay, now let's see. So we have defined two variables over there, first number variable and the second number variable. I'm having this first number value as 49,200, second number variable value as 1945. These are the two values here. And these two values are performing all the mathematical calculations like as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and the modulus. I'm doing these operations now. Let's see. So now I have given this numbers values as first number is 49,200, second number is 1945. When I click on this execute button, my code has been executed. It will be sending the request to server. Server will execute the code. We can see the results inside the debug log file. So whatever the five operations that we have done, all the five operations results I can see, like addition result, subtraction result, multiplication, division, and the modulus. All the five operations results you can able to see it over here. Okay, now. So clear up to this one? Now. Now let's see, for example, if I'm giving second number value as 0, I'm assigning second number value as 0. 0 also integer, right? Yes, it's a numerical. Because integer values range is what? Minus 2 to the power of the t1 to, okay, plus 2 to the power of the t1 minus 1. In between this one, we are having 0 also. Okay, both positive, negative values including 0 also. 0 also between plus or minus 2 to the power of the t1. Okay, now. So now I have given the second number value as 0. Let's see what will happen. So now let's click on execute button. It will show an error message system dot math exception divided by 0. Why? Hmm. Infinity value. Where? In which operation?
Division.
Division operation. Now, let's see. So now whenever I'm executing these operations here, it is showing that, okay, error message system dot math exception. Then what exactly exception? What do you mean by an exception? What it indicates? Why the exceptions will be getting occurred? What will be the possible reasons? And how to handle these exceptions? Okay, we'll see. So now in this case, I would like to know why this exception has been occurred first. Because of which operation this exception has been occurred, I would like to trace it out. For this one, I don't want to execute the whole code. I'm executing only up to addition operation here. Maybe this exception may be occurred because of addition operation. Let me execute the code, execute highlighted button. My request has been sent to the server, no exception message. Now this time I'm including subtraction also. Maybe because of this operation it is causing some issue. Click on execute highlighted. Now this is also working fine. So the issue is not because of addition and subtraction. Now let me do this multiplication operation also. Execute highlighted button. It is also working fine. So the exception is not because of addition, subtraction, multiplication. Now let me include division operation also. Click on execute highlighted. Now this is the problem. That means what? Whenever we are dividing the value, it is causing some issue here. Okay, it is causing some issue. Now, because of this division operation, the error has been occurred over here. Okay, now. So now here in this case here, when coming to these errors, upon executing this piece of code or upon writing the business logics also while executing the piece of code, you will be getting some errors. Then upon getting these errors, we are having two types of errors are available in programming languages. It may be any programming language. We have two types of errors are available. What are those two types of errors? Now let me explain first. Okay, then how to solve these problems? We'll see practically one by one. Okay, now let me explain the procedure here. Let me explain the step-by-step approach now. Why the errors will be getting occurred. For example, assume that I'm writing some piece of code by using Apex programming language. Okay, I'm a developer. For example, assume that I'm a developer. I'm a developer. I'm working in an organization as a Salesforce developer. Now, I'm a developer. For example, now today I got a new requirement from the client. Today I got a new requirement from the client to implement some business logic through Apex programming. So since last 2 months I'm working in this project, but till now they have given so many admin related tasks. That means configuration related tasks which I have implemented by using mouse clicks, like application creations, object creations, field creation, formulas, and then we have implemented so many features also as of now. Now today I got a development related task. So now my technical lead has assigned this requirement to me. He asked me to write some piece of code through Apex programming to complete this requirement. So now as a developer, it's my responsibility. We need to write this piece of code. So I'm using the developer console editor. I'm using one of the editor given by Salesforce to write this piece of code. By using this editor, I'm writing the piece of code inside this. I'm writing some Apex programming code. I'm writing some Apex programming code. In order to implement that functionality, I have written some piece of code here. So once the code has been written by using this Apex class, because this is the Apex class, because business logics we are writing in the form of classes. Now, once the code has been written, we need to save that class code, right? Yes, we need to save that class code. Now I would like to save this code. Now once the code has been prepared, we need to save this code. So in order to save this code, I'm giving a name. I'm giving a name. So now tell me what are the Apex class code that we are going to prepare. Each Apex class code will store inside a file with the extension what? APXC, right. For example, I'm giving the class name as a sample.apxc. Each Apex class code will get stored inside a file with the extension .apxc. Now, so now once the code is available inside this particular class, directly we can't execute this class code. Okay, directly we can't execute this class code. Why? Because whatever the code that I have prepared right now, whatever the logic that I have written right now, maybe in that logic there are some syntactical mistakes. Maybe I did not follow all the rules of Apex programming language. Maybe I did not follow okay, syntactical rules and the standards and the guidelines and principles of Apex programming language. So because we are the human beings, we are not the robots to write the 100% quality code. So we are the human beings, so we can do some mistakes. Maybe upon writing some piece of code, there may be some statements where I forgot to specify the semicolon. Maybe there is a statement where I forgot to close that single quote. Maybe there is a statement where I forgot to write that closing braces also. So now here we can do some mistakes also. In that case, whatever the code we have prepared as of now, this code has to be get compiled first. We need to compile the code here. In order to compile the code, we are having a component called as Apex compiler. We have a component called as Apex compiler. Apex compiler is a component which will compile your Apex code here. We have Apex compiler. Okay, now. So what this Apex compiler will do, whatever the code we have prepared, this code we need to forward to the Apex compiler to compile the code first. We need to compile the code. We need to compile the code. So what do you mean by compilation? Compilation is nothing but verifying the syntactical mistakes. Compilation means verifying the syntactical mistakes. For example, assume that today I want to send one email notification okay, to my client or to my project manager here or to a company for a job. So now I have prepared that email subject and content, everything. Before sending the email, before click on that send button, we'll cross check the content, right? Whether we have written all the statements correctly or not, whether do we have any grammatical mistakes or not, sentence formation is correct or not. We need to check all these things. So inside that email notification content, do we have any syntactical mistakes or spelling mistakes available or not? We'll cross check all these things over here. Like the similar way, whatever the code that we have prepared, inside this code, we need to check the syntactical mistakes. Okay, now for that reason, we are using the help of Apex compiler. So basically, Apex compiler is a component which will compile your Apex programming code. Whatever the code we have written line by line, it will check each and every line syntax. Now, upon compiling the code, if there is any syntactical mistakes are available, what will happen? Errors. Now, in this case here, whenever it is compiling the code, whenever it is verifying the syntactical mistakes inside the code, if there is any issues has been identified, those issues or those errors are called as compilation errors. During the compilation time, during the verifying the syntactical mistakes, if there is any errors has been occurred, those errors are called as compilation errors or compile time errors. Okay, now in this case, upon compiling the code, if there is any errors has been occurred, those are called as compilation errors. Those are called as compilation errors or compile time errors. So these errors are called as compilation errors or compile time errors. So upon compiling the piece of code, whatever the errors has been occurred, those errors are called as compilation errors or compile time errors. Now, so now if there is any syntactical mistakes are available inside this piece of code, it is causing some errors. Those are called as compilation errors. Okay, now. So now tell me generally what is the possible reasons why you will be getting some syntactic, why you are getting this compilation errors? Because compilation errors will be getting occurred because of two possible reasons. There are two major reasons are available because of which we are getting compilation errors. First one, because of syntactical mistakes. Okay, whatever the statements that we are going to write, in that statement here you are not following the rules of the Apex programming. You are not following the syntax of the Apex programming. That's what here it is causing some errors. So the first reason is due to syntactical mistakes. Maybe I forgot to write the semicolon. Maybe I forgot to close that braces. Maybe I forgot to close that single quote. Like that here, we can do some mistakes, so those will be called as syntactical mistakes here. Second one, because of lack of system resources. That means in order to compile that piece of code, in order to compile the Apex programming code, whatever the supporting components are required, whatever the memory is required, whatever the compiler components are required, if those are not available, it will cause the compilation errors. Okay, that means lack of system resources. In order to compile that piece of code, whatever the resources are required, whatever the supporting components are required, those may not be available. These are the two possible reasons over here. Okay, compilation errors will be getting occurred because of two possible reasons. First one, due to syntactical mistakes. Second one, due to lack of system resources. Okay, now these are the two possible reasons are available. Reasons. First one, due to syntactical mistakes. Second one, due to lack of system resources. These are the two possible reasons are available for compilation errors. Compilation errors will be getting occurred, okay, because of the syntactical mistakes, because of lack of system resources. Now, in this case, now tell me, upon compiling this piece of code, if there is any issues has been occurred, then how to handle it? As part of programming languages, not only in Apex, it may be C programming, C++, Java, .NET, wherever you go, anything. Compilation errors cannot be handled. The only way is we have to go back to the code, okay, modify the code, write the code according to the rules of the programming language. Whatever the principles, whatever the rules, whatever the standards, whatever the syntax is given by the programming language, according to those syntaxes, we need to write the code. So in this case, if there is any compilation errors has been occurred, immediately Apex compiler will be stop executing a piece of code. It will send the message to the developer, dear developer, inside your code we found some syntactical mistakes. In line number so and so you did so and so mistake. In line number so and so you did some so and so mistake. So please correct the code, resubmit the code for recompilation process again. So in this case here, if there is any compilation errors has been occurred, immediately it will be sending this notification back to the developer. It will send the notification back to the developer that we can't go ahead with your code because your code contains some syntactical mistakes. So immediately it will be sending that notification back to the developer here. It will send the notification back to the developer. Whatever the compilation errors has been occurred, it will send that response back to the developer. So whatever the compilation errors has been occurred, those compilation errors will be sending back to the developer as response. Now, so in this case, what needs to be done? Developer has to open the code. We need to check that line numbers where exactly we did the mistakes. We need to correct the code. We need to modify the code according to the rules of the Apex programming, and then we have to resubmit for recompilation process. Okay. Understood the concept here? Compilation errors cannot be handled. The only way is we have to go back to the code, write the code according to the rules of that programming language. Okay? Now, so now in this case, once the code has been resubmitted for the compilation, then it will check that line by line syntax again. From first line to till last line, it will check each and every line of code here. So now in this case, now this time, if you don't have any syntactical mistakes, okay, if your code is perfect, You have prepared the code according to the rules of Apex programming language. If there is no syntactical mistakes are available, then your code will be moving ahead for execution. Now your code will be sending for execution process over here. In order to execute that code, it is using the help of a runtime engine. What is that runtime engine? To execute that piece of code. Apex runtime engine. Now we are having Apex runtime engine here in order to execute that piece of code. So now here once the code has been compiled successfully, the compiled code will be sending to that Apex runtime engine in order to execute that piece of code. So now here we are having that Apex runtime engine, which is used to execute that Apex programming code. Now my code will be getting executed here. In order to execute that Apex programming code, it will send the code to that Apex runtime engine. That means once the code has been compiled successfully, then only the code will be moving ahead for execution mechanism. Okay, only the quality code will be getting executed. Only the error-free code, bug-free code, 100% quality code will be getting executed. Now, in this case, Apex runtime engine will start executing your piece of code. Upon executing this code also, it may cause some issues. While executing the code also, it may be causing some errors over here. While executing the piece of code, it may cause some errors also. Those errors are called as runtime errors or exceptions. Now, while executing the piece of code, it is causing some errors also here. Now, upon executing this a piece of code, it may cause some errors over here. Those errors will be called as runtime errors or exceptions. Okay, understood the concept here? Two types of errors: compilation errors, runtime errors, or compile time error, runtime error. Now, so now here in this case, what do you mean by an exception? Hmm. Then, what is runtime error then? Now,
Program logically limited line logically.
okay, right? If it is logically incorrect, then it will be causing some exception, right? Then what do you mean by that exception? How can we define?
Like area of memory is the spread. The variables we are used, it
Hmm.
takes the whole memory and we do not have memory means if RAM is full,
Okay.
uh, we will
Hmm.
not be able to do the operations.
Right. So whatever the memory that we are going to allocate for the memory for the variables, if the enough memory is not available inside the RAM, it will be getting causing some exception. Okay, fine. Now let's see. So then here, upon executing the piece of code, that means compilation wise my code is perfect. No syntactical mistakes. Code is perfect, but while executing the piece of code, it is causing some errors. Those are called as exceptions. Now, then how can we define this exception? Now, let's see. For example, come to a small scenario. So assume that, for example, today I want to meet one of my friend. He's staying some Kukatpalli here, for example. So now I'm from Amirpet, okay, and then he's staying in Kukatpalli. I would like to meet my friend today. So after the session, I would like to go to Kukatpalli. I would like to meet my friend. So now I'm traveling on the road with my two-wheeler vehicle. I have a two-wheeler vehicle. With this two-wheeler vehicle, I'm going on the road to meet my friend. So now when I reach to some Eragada, suddenly my bike tire has been punctured. Okay, suddenly my bike tire has been punctured. Now tell me, is it an expected one or unexpected one? Unexpected one here. Okay, unexpected one. Now, like the similar fashion here. One more case. Whenever I'm traveling on the road, suddenly I met with an accident. Because suddenly I met with an accident. Is it an expected one or unexpected one? Unexpected one. That means what? Whenever we are performing some operations, some unexpected things also will be happen. Okay, upon performing some operations, some unexpected things also will be happened. Those kind of unexpected things are called as exceptions. Okay, now basically exception is nothing but an undesired behavior or an unexpected behavior of an application at runtime, not at compile time. Compilation is already over. Compilation stage already we have crossed. Now we are into execution. Upon executing the code, what I'm expecting the program will execute successfully. I can see the result here, but suddenly I got some exception. So in this case, when coming to the exception, exception is nothing but an undesired behavior or an unexpected behavior of an application at runtime. So while executing this piece of code, it will be causing some error messages. So those are called as exceptions. Now, now tell me, do we have any chances or do we have any possibilities to handle them? Yes, there is a possibility here. Come to the general scenarios here. Like whenever my bike tire has been punctured suddenly, then what will happen here? In that case, we are having some alternative mechanisms. We can go to the nearest service center, we can make it repair, and we can start the travel from there onwards. There is an alternative mechanism is available. Suppose, okay, we don't have any nearby service centers over there. Then in that case, what we can do, just we can able to park our bike in any of the paid parking area. We can catch an auto or a bus and we can reach to the people and we can have the conversation also. There is an alternative mechanisms are also available here. So now in this case, what happened? Whenever an exception is occurred, then we can able to handle that here. Okay, we can able to handle. Like for example, one more scenario here. For example, assume that we are having the class at 5 o'clock. Now the people are coming from different locations, some very far locations also. People are coming to our sessions. So now they may be starting by 3:30 or 4 o'clock. They're coming to our session by 5 o'clock. Now once the session gets started, in classroom we are having very good okay temperature. We are having very good AC and the chair and the fans. Everything is available. The people will start sleeping in the class. Now, so now here in this case, now tell me, the people are coming to the class to sleep? No. Maybe today they may had very good lunch today here. That's why they're sleeping in the class. Okay, now. So now here in this case, the people are sleeping in the class. It's an unexpected thing. The people are not coming to the class to sleep. Okay, it's an unexpected thing. So do we have any handling mechanism? Yes. Just we can go out of this class and then make a face wash. Just we can have a cup of tea. We can come back to the class. We can continue the session. So that means there are some handling mechanisms are also available. So in this case, whenever if there is any unexpected things are happen, we can able to handle them. So for that reason here also, as part of our applications also. So whenever we are executing this piece of code, there are some errors will be occurred. Those are called as exceptions. Okay, now, so we can able to handle them. Okay, we can able to handle them here. Then how to handle, we'll see. Now here in this case. So now you may be raising a question, sir, generally, why we are getting this kind of exceptions? In order to get this exception, there are some possible reasons. There are some possible reasons. The first one, due to wrong logic. Whatever the logic that we have written, that logic will be wrong. Because as a mathematical okay principles, we know a okay universal truth that we can't divide a number by zero. Because whenever we are dividing a number by zero, what is the result? Infinitive. Okay, infinitive. Now tell me, in our Apex programming, do we have any such data type to store the value infinitive? No. Okay, now, even though we know that principle, even though we know that universal truth that we can't divide a number by zero, I'm trying to do that here. It's my mistake here. Compilation wise, the code is perfect. Syntactically, my code is perfect, but logically, my code is wrong. So in this case here, because of that wrong logic, okay, I'm getting these exceptions here. This is the first reason. Second reason, due to missing the values for the required fields. Suppose, for example, there are some mandatory fields are available for whom we need to supply the values. But I forgot to pass a value for one of the mandatory field. Because of that mandatory value here, okay, because of missing the value for the mandatory field, it will be causing some exception. Next, third reason, due to passing illegal values, illegal or wrong values for the variables. Okay, now, so there is an integer variable is available for which I'm passing string value. There is a date variable is available for this I'm passing okay string value here. In this kind of situation, if I'm passing some wrong values for the variables, illegal values for the variable here, incompatible values for the variables also, it may be causing some exceptions. So exceptions will be getting occurred because of these three possible reasons: due to wrong logic, due to missing the values for the required fields, due to passing some wrong values for the variables. Okay, now, so now here in this case, because of these reasons, the exceptions will be getting occurred. Whenever the exception is occurred, what will happen? The abnormal termination of the program will be getting occurred. That means what? My program is getting executing over here. I'm expecting my program should be executing in this particular sequence over here. But whenever it is executing this piece of code, at the time of this division operation, it is stop executing this piece of code. It is showing the error message here. That means the abnormal termination of the program. My program execution has been stopped. So because of this exception, my program execution has been stopped. It is showing that exception message in technical terms like a system.math exception divided by 0. So in this case here, upon executing this piece of code, if there is any exception is occurred, then abnormal termination of the program will be getting happen. So now here in this case, I would like to make the graceful termination of my program. I don't want to stop the execution of my code in the middle. I would like to continue with the rest of the statements also as it is. So for that reason, I would like to handle these kind of exceptions. For that one, as part of this Apex programming, we have two mechanisms are available to handle this kind of exceptions. We can handle the exceptions by using two features here. First one, conditional statements. First one, conditional statements. Second one, exception handling mechanism. First one, conditional statements. Second one, exception handling mechanism. These are the two principles are available. These are the two ways are available in order to handle your exceptions. So whenever an exception is getting occurred, we can handle these exception with the help of these two possible ways. So in order to handle the exceptions, these are the two ways are available. We can handle the exceptions by using conditional statements and exception handling mechanism. These are the two ways are available here. Okay, understand the concept now? So now here, whenever we are writing this piece of code as part of Apex programming, these are the two types of errors will be getting occurred. First one, compilation errors, and the second one, runtime errors. These runtime errors are also called as exceptions. Okay, whenever an exception is occurred, we can handle the exception by using conditional statement. Compilation errors we can't handle. What is the alternative? The only way is go back to the Apex program, go to that statement, write the code according to the rules and principles of that programming language. That is the only way to avoid those compilation errors. Runtime errors we can able to handle with the help of conditional statements and exception handling mechanism. Clear? Understood the concept now? Right. Now let's see. In this case here, whenever I'm executing this piece of code, so now it will be executing this statement perfectly here. Addition will do perfectly, subtraction also, multiplication also. But upon doing this division operation, whenever it is performing the division operation, it is causing some issue. When if the second number value is equals to 0. If it is, if I'm giving like as a 10, it will execute as it is, all the operations it will do. But if the second number value is equals to 0, then only it is causing this error message over here. So this division operation, modulus operation, both will cause some error if the second number value is 0. In this case, what needs to be done? Before executing this piece of code, before performing this division operation, here I would like to add a check. I would like to add a condition to check whether second number value is greater than 0 or not. If it is greater than 0, then only perform this particular operation like as a division and modulus operation. Suppose if the second number value is 0, then don't execute these statements. Just you can skip the execution of these statements also over. Okay, that means here I would like to add a no entry board over here. So now when if the second number value is equals to 0, then I would like to add a no entry board. Boss, this is under maintenance over here. Please take the diversion here. Don't execute this same statements here. Don't execute that. It will cause some error messages. So I want to skip the execution of this statement. I want to change the control flow of that application program. So for that reason here, whenever we are going to be checking this condition, if the conditions are satisfied, then only I would like to execute this piece of code, or else I don't want to execute this piece of code. Okay, then if you want to execute some statements, if you want to execute some piece of code based on some condition result, then we can use the help of conditional statements. Okay, conditional statements. What do you mean by conditional statements? Conditional statements are used to add one or more number of user defined conditions which can be verified before executing the statements. Before executing the statements, I would like to check some conditions, so that I would like to use the help of conditional statements. If the conditions are satisfied, then only it will be entering into the block. It will execute the statements whatever we have written. Suppose if the conditions are not satisfied, if the conditions are failed, it will skip the execution of the statement automatically by default over here. Okay? Understood the concept here? What exactly the conditional statements? So conditional statements are used to add one or more number of conditions to be get verified before executing the statements. That means before executing this block of statements, I would like to add a condition. What is the condition? If the second number value is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, then only entering into the block, execute this statement. Suppose if the second number value is not greater than 0, if it is equals to 0, then just to skip the execution, come out from that whole block over here. Don't execute that statement because it will cause some exceptions. Clear? Understood the concept now? Now. So now in this case, if you want to execute some piece of code based on some conditions results, then we can go with the help of conditional statement. Okay, now as part of Apex programming, we have three conditional statements are available. Apex provides three conditional statements. First one, if conditional statement. First one, if conditional statement. Second one, switch statement. Third one, ternary operator. Third one, ternary operator. This ternary operator will be getting denoted with the help of a question mark and a colon symbol. Okay, these are the three conditional statements are available in Apex programming. If conditional statement, switch statement, ternary operator. These are the three conditional statements are available in Apex programming. Okay, then what exactly if conditional statement, what is switch statement, we'll see one by one. In if conditional statement we have four formats. In a switch statement we have two formats are available here. Each and every format we'll see one by one. Depends upon the requirement, depends upon the conditions which you are going to add, which format is suitable, you have to decide. We have to use that here. Okay, now let's see. Make a note of this one. Conditional statements. Conditional statements are used to add one or more user-defined conditions to be get verified before executing the statements. Conditional statements are used to add one or more user-defined conditions to be get verified before executing the statements. If the specified conditions are satisfied, then it will execute the associated block of statements. Else, it will skip the execution of the statements. Else, it will skip the execution of the statements. By using conditional statements, we can change the control flow of the application execution. By using conditional statements, we can change the control flow of the application execution. So that we can avoid the exceptions. So that we can avoid the exceptions. Apex provides three conditional statements. First one, if conditional statement. Second one, switch statement. Third one, ternary operator. This can be denoted with the help of a question mark and a colon. These are the three conditional statements are available in Apex programming. Then we will see if conditional statement here. Done with this? Next. So now let's see. As part of these conditional statements, We have these three conditional statements are available: if conditional statement, switch statement, and ternary operator. Switch statement has introduced by Salesforce from Winter 18 release onwards. Switch statement is available from Winter 18 release onwards. That means from 2018 Winter release onwards only we are having switch statement in Apex. Okay? If conditional statement is available from the year 2000 onwards, for 18 years of time, we don't have switch statement in Apex program. Okay? Now, so now let's see. Let's come to that first conditional statement, if condition. Basically, if also one of the conditional statement. If also one of the conditional statement given by Apex programming, which can be used to verify one or more conditions before executing the statements. So before executing the statements, we can verify one or more conditions also. Like for example, assume that. For example, assume that we have a student. We have a student. These are the marks the student got in his exams. Now today, I want to identify the result of the student. I would like to check whether student got passed or failed. We are able to calculate total marks, average marks, everything is common. He may be passed, he may be failed. We are calculating total, average, everything. Now I would like to check whether student got passed or failed. For that one, there is a eligibility criteria. What is that? If the student is getting more than or equals to 40 marks in each and every subject, then only he will be pass. If the student is getting less than 40 marks in any of the subject, he will be failed. In that case, what needs to be done? We need to check the condition here. We need to check whether English greater than 40 or not. That means English marks greater than 40 or not. And Hindi marks greater than 40 or not. Maths marks greater than 40 or not. Physics marks greater than 40 or not. Chemistry marks greater than 40 or not. How many conditions we are checking? Multiple. That means 5 conditions we are verifying. If all these 5 conditions are satisfied, so now if the student is getting more than 40 marks in all these 5 subjects, then only he will be pass. If any of the condition is failed, then he will be failed. So now, based on that condition result, we can execute some piece of code. Whether he can pass or fail, that we can decide based on the condition result. So that here we can add one or more number of conditions. Not only one n number of conditions, also we can write, depends upon the complexity of the requirement. Okay, now, so now in this case, as part of this if conditional statement is used to add one or more number of conditions which can be verified before executing the statements. If all the conditions are satisfied, it will execute that associated block of statements, or else it will skip the execution of those statements as well. Now, in this case, as part of this if condition, we have 4 formats are available. We have 4 formats available in if conditional statement. First one, simple if condition. Okay, first one, simple if condition. Second one, if else condition. Okay, if else condition. Third one, else if condition. Okay, else if condition. Fourth one, nested if condition. Okay, nested if condition. These are the 4 formats. Simple if else, else if, nested if. Okay, these are the 4 formats of if conditional statements are available. Each format is having its own syntax. Okay. Now depends upon the situation, we have to decide which format is suitable. We need to use that. Okay, clear? Now make a note of this one. If conditional statement. If conditional statements are used to add one or more user defined conditions to be get verified before executing the statements. If conditional statements are used to add one or more user defined conditions to be get verified before executing the statements. If all the conditions are verified, then it will execute the associated block of statements. Else, it will skip the execution of the statement. We have the below four formats of if conditional statement. First one, simple if condition. Second one, if else. Third one, else if. Fourth one, nested if condition. These are the four formats are available. Simple if else if, nested if. These are the four formats. Done with this? Now, the first one, simple if condition. Then how this simple if condition look like? Now let me explain. Let me give you the syntax first, then I will explain the procedure. If we can specify the conditions, inside the block we can write the statements whatever you want. This is the syntax. If we can specify the conditions, not only one, multiple. That's what I'm using the word conditions. Not single, multiple also. We can add n number of no limitations at all. Done with this syntax? Now, let me explain what exactly it is. How it works, now let me explain. So now here we are using this if. We can add one or more number of conditions inside these braces. Inside the braces, we are adding multiple conditions also, not only one, multiple. Now tell me here. For example, I'm rewriting two conditions over here. Like I would like to add, rating should be equals to heart. Rating should be equals to heart. Second one, I would like to add, okay, industry should be banking. Second condition, I would like to write, industry should be equals to banking. I'm preparing these two conditions. Now tell me how can we make both the conditions should be satisfied? End operator. That means those are comes under which category of operators? Logical operators. So we can use logical operators. Either we can use and or we can use R, two pipe symbols. These are called as pipe symbols inside your keyboard. So now depends upon the requirement. We can use this end operator or R operator or not operator over here. With the help of these logical operators, we can combine the multiple conditions together to validate the data. So now the conditions are keep on changing depends upon the requirement. Either both may be satisfied or any one can be satisfied. Depends upon the requirement, we have to use the corresponding logical operator and we can add the conditions. So whenever we are preparing the condition, this is the syntax we used to follow. We have to specify the variable name, okay, which you would like to compare. We have to specify the value with what value you would like to compare. We have to use a relational operator by using which operator you would like to compare. Okay, what variable value you would like to compare, with what value you would like to compare, by using which operator you would like to compare. Is it greater than, less than, or equals to, not equals to, or what value you would like to use to compare, and which operator you would like to compare, we need to specify. We need to specify the variable name and an operator and the value. This is the syntax we used to follow. Okay, variable name and an operator and the value. Same like as mathematics over here, nothing different. Okay, now, so now here in this case we can prepare, okay, one condition, there is a second condition. Like that, multiple conditions we can prepare, we can combine them with the help of logical operators. Okay, now make a note of this syntax. Now, in this approach, if all the specified conditions are satisfied, then it will execute the associated block of statements. Else, it will skip the execution of the statement. Now, we can prepare the conditions as below. Syntax says we can specify the variable name and an operator and a value. For example, we can specify second number value greater than 0. Rating value equals to heart. That means I would like to compare. Okay, single equals for assignment, double equals for comparison. So we are comparing the value. That's what we need to use double equals. Now, industry equals to education. Annual revenue is less than 50 lakhs. Phone number value not equals to null. Like that, here we can able to check it out. And we can prepare multiple conditions by using logical operators. Logical operators as below. For example, we can specify rating should be equals to warm and Annual revenue should be greater than 45 lakhs. Phone number should be not equals to null. And email should be not equals to null. Like that, we can able to add now. Building city equals to Bangalore, or building city equals to Mumbai. Like that, we can add multiple conditions also. Based on these conditions, we can able to decide whether the statements has to be executed or not. Done with this? Now, so let's see in this case, as part of my program, how can we write this condition over here? When you want to execute this a piece of code now, when you want to execute this piece of code, if the second number value is greater than 0, then only I would like to execute. How to add this condition now? Hmm. If if second number variable value is greater than 0, then only I would like to execute. What piece of code? This is a piece of code I would like to execute here. I'm writing this statement here. That means what here in this case, now we are executing the statements as it is over here. Here it will be checking the condition. What is the actual second number value that we have? 0. It will be replacing that variable here. Second number value is 0. What is the condition? Greater than 0. Now tell me, 0 is greater than 0? No. 0 is equals to 0. It's not greater than 0. So condition will be failed. If the condition is failed, it will comes out of the block. It won't execute the statements over here. Okay. Suppose if I'm giving second number value as 140, then what will happen? Second number value will be substituting 140. Is 140 is greater than 0? Yes. If it is satisfied, it will enter into the block. It will be executing this division modulus also both. Clear? Understand the concept here? So now upon executing this piece of code, we can able to add certain conditions also depends upon the requirement. Based on those condition result, we can decide whether the further piece of code should be executed or not. Okay, now. So now in this case, let's see. If I'm executing this piece of code, previously, whenever I'm executing this piece of code, I'm able to get the exception message, okay, system.math exception divided by 0. Now click on execute button over here, no exception message here. So we are able to handle these kind of exceptions. Now let's see. Select the debug only checkbox. Now we are able to see only three results: addition, subtraction, multiplication. Remaining two operations has been skipped because condition is not satisfied. Okay. Suppose for example, if I am giving the second number value as some 290. Now this time it will execute. Click on execute button. Operations will be done. Now we can see how many operation results now? Five operation results. Because condition is satisfied, it is performing both the operations. Okay. This is how we can able to add the conditions in order to validate some data before executing some statements. So before executing this piece of code, we are checking some conditions. If the conditions are satisfied, then only we can execute this. Okay, this is the functionality of simple if condition here. Okay, clear? Clear up to this one? Just you can write this piece of code here. And then this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days we don't have the session. I will be out of station, so I will not be available here. Tomorrow we have the session as usual. Okay, now. So Friday and the Saturday, Sunday, 3 days we don't have the session. Monday we'll be having the session continuations as usual. Okay. Done with this. Next. Next one we have few more formats are available for this. Okay, if conditional statement. Tomorrow we'll see the remaining formats. How to use if else condition, else if condition, nested if condition. We'll see in tomorrow's session. Okay. Now, thank you.